The Quiche language of Guatemala. Guatemala. Guatemala means land of the forests. Guatemala is a country in Central America, bordered by Mexico to the north and west, the Pacific Ocean to the southwest, Belize to the northeast, the Caribbean to the east, Honduras to the east, and El Salvador to the southeast. The population of Guatemala. There are two primary ethnic groups in Guatemala. One, Mestizo, also known as Ladino, and two, the Maya. Guatemala is highly stratified with the Mestizo or Ladino, who are a mixture of Spanish and Maya, being at the top and the indigenous Maya being below them. The Mestizo speak Spanish exclusively, while the Maya speak their indigenous language and often Spanish as well. 2/5 of the Guatemalan population are the indigenous Maya, with several subgroups, the largest being the Quiche. It is estimated that there are between 22 and 28 indigenous Maya groups in Guatemala who speak 21 languages. The language Quiche, also known as Quiche, is the most common Mayan language, spoken with around 2.3 million speakers. It can be found in newspapers and spoken on some radio and news stations. Who are the Quiche? The Quiche were one of the prominent Maya groups that became influential as the Great Maya Empire declined. The Quiche had an advanced civilization in pre-Columbian times, with a high level of political and social organization. Archaeological remains show large population centers and a complex class structure. Written records of the Quiche history, mythology, are preserved in the Popol Vuh and in a number of other colonial documents and chronicles written down in the Quiche language shortly after the conquest by the Spaniards in 1524. Colonial conquest by Spain. In 1524, after battles against the conquistadors, their capital city, Cumatcach, was looted and burned. The Spanish rebuilt the capital, which is known today as Santa Cruz del Quiche. With the Spanish colonization, the Quiche were taken from a state of independent rule to virtual slaves, serving the Spanish on their own stolen lands as agricultural workers and servants. The official language of Guatemala remains to this day Spanish. The Quiche today. Today, the Quiche are mostly poor, rural farmers in the highlands. Many are migrant workers. Their numbers were decimated during a 36-year-long civil war. Over 200,000 Maya disappeared or were executed during this time in a mass genocide. Why are Guatemalans coming to the United States now? The brutal war that began in 1960 and did not end until 1996 created a culture of violence which still exists. Guatemala has one of the highest violent crime rates in Central America and is rated in the top 25 most dangerous places to live in the world. Natural disasters, including earthquakes and hurricanes, have decimated whole villages. Guatemala has the highest infant and child mortality rate, the lowest life expectancy, and the worst malnutrition problems in Central America. Guatemala has the third highest femicide rate in the world after El Salvador and Jamaica. Between 2007 and 2012, there were 9.1 murders for every 100,000 women, according to the National Guatemalan Police. And last year, 846 women were killed in a population of a little more than 15 million, says the state prosecutor's office. Education in Guatemala. Education is compulsory in Guatemala, but extreme poverty makes it virtually impossible for most indigenous Maya to go to school. Since government funding is so low, schools are often far away and poorly staffed. 2 million children do not attend school in Guatemala, the majority being female. Indigenous females living in rural areas are the most uneducated because they are used for domestic care by their families. The mean average years of schooling in 2011 was 4.1 years per student. 25.5% of Guatemala's population are illiterate, with illiteracy rates up to more than 60% in the indigenous population. It is likely that a student from Guatemala has had much less educational instruction than their American peers. The Quiche language. Quiche was formed from the eastern branch of the Proto-Mayan Quichean languages. It is believed to be over 4,000 years old. The Spaniards renamed the language Quiche, and the two names are used interchangeably in this presentation. Phonology. The Quiche alphabet. Quiche has up to 11 vowel sounds. This varies amongst the dialects. Some have only 6. In contrast, American English has about 15 vowel sounds and has 5 vowel letters, A, E, I, O, and U. As you can see, there are far more variations of the vowel sounds in Quiche. Quiche diphthongs are generally only found in loanwords. They are not part of the Quiche language. There are 8 to 10 diphthong sounds in American English. Diphthongs are a combination of 2 vowel sounds that, when spoken, blur into each other, forming a single syllable. This is a list of Quiche consonants and some of the pronunciations. There are 21 consonants in English and 22 in Quiche. The English letters C, D, F, G, L, V, and Z do not appear in the Quiche alphabet and will have to be taught explicitly. The sound sh is made by the letter X in Quiche, not SH as in our language. The Quiche Maya language. Phonology. Quiche has a rather conservative phonology. It has not developed many of the innovations found in neighboring languages, such as retroflex consonants or tone. Stress. In Quiche language, stress is not phonemic, as it is in English. It occurs in the final syllable and on every other syllable before the final in an iambic pattern. Unstressed vowels are frequently reduced or merged altogether, often producing consonant clusters even at the beginning of words. For example, the word for very is sib'aula. It may be pronounced sibla. Or the word for thus is hainala, but it may be pronounced hainla. Stress in American English. In American English, 2-syllable nouns, adjectives, and adverbs are usually stressed on the first syllable, and 2-syllable verbs are usually stressed on the second syllable. The vowel sound of unstressed syllables is often reduced to a schwa, Words that are 3 syllables or longer are often stressed based on the word's suffix. Compound words are usually stressed on the first word. Some words, called heteronyms, have a single spelling but 2 different pronunciations. There are a number of 2-syllable words that are stressed on the first syllable when the word is being used as a noun or adjective, and stressed on the second syllable when it's being used as a verb. Morphology. Quiche uses two sets of agreement markers. They are known as set A and set B markers. They may appear on nouns and verbs. Set A markers are used on nouns to mark possessor agreement and on verbs to agree with the transitive subject. Set B markers are used on verbs to agree with the transitive object or the intransitive subject. American English markers. Apart from verbs, the main examples are the determiners this and that, which become these and those respectively when the noun is plural. For example, this woman becomes these women, that dog becomes those dogs. All regular verbs, and nearly all irregular ones in English, agree in the third person singular of the present indicative by adding a suffix of either s or s. The latter is generally used after stems ending in the sibilants sh, ch, s, or z. For example, he rushes, it lurches, she amasses, it buzzes. Pronouns. Quiche distinguishes 6 pronouns classified by person and number. Gender and case are not marked on pronouns. Pronouns are often omitted as subject and object agreement are obligatorily marked on the verb. American English includes first, second, and third person singular as well as plural subject and object pronouns. Verbs. Verbs are highly morphologically complex and can take numerous prefixes and suffixes, serving both inflectional and derivational purposes. Syntax. Quiche has a pattern of verb agreement and uses verb object subject or VOS word order. Most English sentences are in the subject verb object or SVO word order. One place that students may make frequent mistakes is with word order. Orthography. Historically, different orthographies have been used to transliterate the Quiche languages. The classic orthography of Father Jimenez, who wrote down the Popol Vuh, is based on Spanish orthography and has been replaced by a new standardized orthography defined by the ALMG, Academia de Lenguas Mayas de Guatemala. There's some examples below. Vocabulary. The bulk of Quiche vocabulary is Mayan in origin, with some borrowings from Spanish. The language has also borrowed words from other neighboring indigenous languages. To the right are several basic words in Quiche. Quiche words. The word one in English is pronounced jun. 2, cabe. 3, oshib. Man, auchi. Woman, ishok. Dog, tsi. Sun, ki. Moon, kati. Water, ha. Cultural norms. Greetings. Man greeting man. Men shake hands warmly when greeting one another and maintain direct eye contact. Friends and close acquaintances will share a hug combined with a few slaps on the back. Woman greeting woman. At first meeting, women shake hands or give a light touch on the forearm. Friends and close acquaintances generally kiss each other once on the cheek. Man greeting woman. At first meeting, a regular handshake will do. Friends, family, and close acquaintances may share a light kiss on the cheek. Physical proximity. In most urban settings, Guatemalans tend to be most comfortable at an arm's length from one another. 2.5 to 3 feet is normal. In the country, 1 to 2 feet is normal. There is a fair amount of touching between women and women during conversations, but not as much with men and men and women. Views on time. Guatemalans tend to place more emphasis on people and relationships than to the strict adherence of set schedules in social situations. While the bus, train, and plane schedules will be adhered to for the most part, showing up a little late to a party or function is quite common. On the other hand, arriving on time for a meeting is important as Guatemalans tend to be quite punctual in business situations. Eye contact. Direct eye contact should be made. Sustained eye contact should be maintained when listening. Lack of eye contact is considered rude and taken as disinterest. Gender views. Guatemala has a male-centered culture and women are treated differently than men. Most women are expected to do all the housework and all the cooking. Catcalls are common toward women walking in the streets, but the advances usually stop at that. It's acceptable for women to dine alone, but going to local bars and clubs and walking alone at night unaccompanied is not advised. Gestures. Guatemalans usually wave goodbye by raising their hands with the palm facing in and wave their fingers at themselves. To beckon someone, extend an arm and make a scratching motion with your fingers or sweep your whole arm toward your body. Taboo gestures. Putting your thumb in between your middle and index finger while making a fist is an obscene gesture. Loud voices in public are looked down upon. Students. The school year usually begins in January and ends in November. Interesting facts. Unlike many other languages that use a high pitch in baby talk, Quiche does not. Guatemalans eat 3 meals a day, with the largest meal being lunch. It is not uncommon outside of the cities for lunch times to be 2 to 3 hours long. The most popular sport in Guatemala is football, soccer.